Time to go ahead and start picking our next piece to model. And let's go ahead and get started right here at the front. We'll get this piece knocked out with these little circles on the front of it. So to do that, we could start with a box and then shape that box as we go. Or we could go ahead and just create the geometry exactly like how it is. So I'm going to go ahead and go on a side view. It's going to give us the best information for that shape. And then in my Mesh Tools menu, I'm going to go up here and then I'm going to go into my Create Polygon. So if we select on the Create Polygon, it's going to allow us to just left click to start creating the geometry, and then when we get done we can hit Enter to end the creation process. So to get started, I'm just simply going to get right where I want it, left click to put the vertex point, and then we're going to start looking for where are the curves happening. So we're just going to left click on it and we'll slowly start to work our way down. And just each time you're clicking, it's just going to add a vertex point and start constructing that shape for us. There we go. And then you might even try to line up those vertex points as you go back up, assuming that the curve works for you in those areas. And as we go up and over, and as we get to the top of it, we just hit Enter. That's going to finish off that creation process for us. And we can select on the model. Let's go back to our perspective view so we can see what we've got. What we have is just a very thin piece of geometry, and what we want to do is extrude that geometry so we have some thickness to it. So we can go into our extrude option. Let's just drag that guy out a little bit. We're going to try to line him up with the thickness of our reference image right about in there. And with that, let's go back into our object mode. Our pivot point's out here. We can reset that pivot point in just a minute. I just want to get this set up first. We're looking like we're somewhere about in the middle up here. This actually has a little bit of a bend in the concept, so that's okay. Alright, so we're looking pretty nice like that. Let's go ahead and make some little circles right here at the front. And to make circles, we'll keep it real nice and simple. We'll just use our sphere. And we know we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. Let's just grow that one about that size. Let's bump down our divisions. We'll go to our channel box. And let's just set this to about 12 and 12. So to raise to 1.5, we may make that a little bit bigger as we get closer to it. Let's slide this guy off to the side so we can see just about where we're going. We're going somewhere in here. Alright, so our size looks good. We can bump that up. We'll zoom into it, F on the keyboard. And we don't necessarily have to have that pointing back out. We are just a circle, but we could line up that edge a little if we want to extrude it some. Let's see what we've got here. Let's go ahead and go into our side view. We'll get this to roll around a little bit. There we go. And we've actually got a little bit of a straight edge there, so we've got sort of a beveled fill on the top. So I'm going to go ahead and go in. I'm going to go to my scale tool. I'm going to set this to object. I'm just going to flatten that top out. But as I flatten that top out, I also want to move it into place just a little bit differently. For instance, let's go into our face mode. And let's get rid of some of the geometry right in here. And we'll go into our edge mode. Make a selection of some of those, deselect the things that we don't want. And that last one right there. Let's just take that straight down. I'm going to bump it out just a little bit. There we go. Alright, that gives me a nice little shape right in here. And let's make some copies of it, Control D. And then we can match that angle, just rotate it a little bit. And if you don't have it set, be sure to set your rotation to the object's position, just to make that a little bit easier. And just Control D on the keyboard. Let's see if we can grab the one that we want. There we go. Alright, so we're looking pretty good with that. We just want to line these up in the middle. Right about there. We'll go ahead and connect and combine all these guys together in our mesh and combine. And that way we've got that as just one object. We look pretty good like that. Alright, so just in a few minutes we've got a nice piece. And the other thing we can do is we can bevel out the edge of this guy. So I'm going to go ahead and go into my edge mode. And let's select on these edges in here. Take a peek at what we've got selected. Now we don't want these inside edges when we bevel, because that would just double up that edge and kind of give us a hard edge on what we want, which is more of a smooth curve. But we do want these edges because we want that edge to be beveled and softened up. So we just need to go back through and deselect those inside lines. Then we got to make sure that we've got all of our outside lines. And we'll take those three there. That'll work good for us. And looks like we've got all the way around. We look pretty good like that. So let's go to our modeling tools and into our bevel. And we can see how that's going to just bevel that nice and neat for us. And then on our ends, it's going to capture that for us right in there. And for our segments, we can at least go to about 2. We can either keep it nice and tight, or we can soften it up a little bit. I think we're going to soften it right about to that level. It has a good feel to it. Let's see if we go up one more segment. Yeah, I think that's going to work. Alright. So we've got a nice little shape right there with some detail on it. And the last part of this guy is a little block and a little connection, and we'll leave that for the arm. Alright, so that's going to wrap us up for that one, and we'll pick our next object and start working over it.